In this episode, Scott and I will be talking about how to connect with people you don't know. This is the Stretch Goals Podcast, where each week we'll share insights and lessons learned based on our experiences as entrepreneurs. We'll challenge you to create ambitious goals as you start and grow your business. I'm your host, Robert Dickerson.
And I'm Scott Davis.
As a founder, making connections is one of the most important parts of starting and growing your business. It's the way you find customers, partners, and employees. And over time, those connections will grow into friends, mentors, and trusted advisors. So in this episode, I want to talk about how do you connect with people you don't know and get them to start a conversation with you around your business. So Scott, this is an area that I've been working on a lot lately, growing MapOut, is just really connecting with people that I don't know in different industries, both to find customers and also employees. And so I thought it'd be really good as we start the new year to talk about this and talk about some outreach methods that we've used to get in touch with people, how we find these people, and how we connect with them.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about how first you find people to connect with. I've been using LinkedIn a lot to find people, and also Twitter, people that have posted articles and things like that. How have you gone about connecting with people for MobX or some of your other businesses?
Well, I'm not a big LinkedIn guy. I mean, there was a time when I was, but I just don't see. I've gotten connections through LinkedIn and picked up projects and things like that, and it has its benefits, but for me, it's less beneficial to my style. I like to consume information, and I find Twitter to be more engaging for me personally. So I have no problem commenting on someone's article saying, "Hey, man, this is cool. Like, how'd you do it?" And I tend to get a better response on Twitter than I do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, in my perspective, is more, "Hey, I'm connected to these people. Want to have lunch sometime." Versus Twitter is more conversational for me. So I've definitely made some good connections on Twitter over the years. But when all else fails, look around you. There's people everywhere to talk to. Airports, coffee shops, whatever. I meet a lot of interesting people. I met someone last week in my accountant's office who needed an app, and we were just talking. And the funny thing is when this guy came in and sat down, he was like, "Hey, how are you? Happy holidays." And I'm like, "Oh gosh." I'm like, man, don't talk to me, dude. Like, I'm on my phone, leave me alone. But no, it ended up turning into me picking up a new customer. So he probably knows who he is now. He's listening to the podcast. But yeah, I mean, there's every medium that's out there is made for connecting with people. I don't really use Facebook for business purposes, but use every method that you have out there. I mean, what are you doing?
Well, a lot of times I'll use LinkedIn to find people's interest and just kind of gauge what they're working on. So I have something to start a conversation around. And then I'll go to their Twitter profile and look at, what articles have they posted, like kind of what they're interested in. Because I find if you approach people with questions about what they're working on, try to establish that relationship first instead of just going right into trying to sell them, right? I mean, that doesn't, for me, that's never worked very well. And then I try to start a conversation or grab lunch or grab coffee. That's the way that I've found to meet a lot of people and just have conversations about, things that they're working on, things that I'm working on, see if there's some synergy there that we can work together. And a lot of people I've found are open to having those conversations. You just have to approach them in the right way.
Yeah, and it's not one of those things that you may not get an immediate, business opportunity or whatever from it, but the seed is planted, and eventually they're going to come back. Who was that guy I had lunch with that one time? And they're going to remember, and then that opportunity opens up for you. That's happened to me many, many times. One thing that's a little bit different than what you and I just talked about, which is where we're going out and like seeking people and like trying to get to know them. There's an app called Charlie App, charlieapp.com. And basically, like if you've got a calendar meeting with somebody, it goes out and looks them up on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, finds their posts on Medium, blah, 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 blah. And it gives you a summary before your meeting of who they are, what they're interested in, what their last 5 tweets were, all that good stuff. So you kind of have like this quick, like Cliff Notes version of who the person is. So if you're somebody like me who doesn't have time to like remember anything, you could just quickly reference, who they are and what they're doing and what's important to them. And sometimes it's not accurate. Like for example, Rob, you were obviously a white male, and sometimes it tells me that you were a black gentleman in North Dakota, and that's fine. I know that's not you, but for the most part, it's picking up, who the people are and what's important to them. And if you're not comfortable, you go, Rob, I see here that you're interested in Java development. You get the idea. But it's a cool app, charlieapp.com.
That's pretty cool. I think one area you talked about too was these are relationships you're building with people. So it's a long-term game. It's not a short-term game where you're gonna get something out of it immediately. I mean, you're trying to build a relationship with someone that's mutually beneficial for both of you. And I think you have to look at it from that perspective too, is that what do you bring to the table for them? How can you help them with some of the things that they're working on, whether it's through promotion or whatnot, or bringing more business for them? And so when you kind of connect that way and think about it that way, I think you'll have a better chance of success.
Well, and most people know when you're just trying to talk to them to make a sale. So don't do that. Make relationships. Sure, probably 7 out of 10 times I go out to have lunch with somebody, it doesn't turn into anything, but those 3 do. And at least 50% of the time, I at least keep those people in my circle of friends. So, on a coin flip, the person I'm talking to, I'm going to talk to again at some point. And that's really, it's about building your network. And those people then become someone you could send an email to. Hey, will you help me beta test this? Or, hey, would you give me a like on Product Hunt? All those things. So it all works out. So just meet people. Don't be afraid to meet people.
I think it's also good to follow up with people as well and keep those relationships going. It's really up to you to continue to do that because everyone's so busy doing their own thing that it's important that you continually follow up with people and keep having coffee or keep sharing information with those people because it takes time, like you said, to develop that relationship. And so you need to keep following up. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is that a lot of times you might send an email, you might tweet at the person and they ignore you. And I think you need to not take that personally and continue to reach out to people because I know with me, I get so many emails in the day and there's things that I want to respond to, but I mark them to come back and then I never come back. So you can't take things personally. People are just busy. So you need to keep reaching out. And I think normally if there's a relationship there and the person's interested, they'll respond eventually.
Well, and change your approach too. Like if don't send the same email every time. That's fake and shallow. People see right through that. But usually what I'll do, I like to get to know people on a personal level. Like I like to, hey man, you want to go play golf? You like want to go to a baseball game? Things like that. Like I like to learn what makes them tick because I'm interested in that. But then I use that as an icebreaker to bring back open conversations. I'll say, hey man, did you see the game last night? Yeah, cool. Blah 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 blah. Oh hey, by the way, you want to get lunch next week or something like that. If you give them a reason to engage in the conversation, they're going to open that email and reply. Especially if it's just a quick, yeah, I saw the game. That's awesome, man. Those types of things. It just opens the conversation back up. And it's the same thing when you're in person. If you're at a social event, downtown for social networking, and you see somebody, you don't want to put them in an awkward position to be like, hey man, nice suit, whatever. Like all those cheesy little things, they work. It's all about connecting. And I read this. Well, I didn't read the book, if I'm being honest, but there's a book called How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. And obviously everyone likes me, so I didn't really need to read the book. But I use this app called Blinkist, which summarizes books for you, basically like Cliff Notes, but a little bit more detailed. And so I skimmed through the book using Blinkist, and there's a lot of things in here, good tips, but like one of them is like when you meet somebody for the first time, it says, look directly into their eyes and establish trust. And once you've made eye contact, be sure you're the first one to smile. And that's an example of making a good first impression. And people remember that about you. Rob is happy. Scott is crabby and grouchy. Okay, who am I going to go to? I'm going to talk to Rob. So lots of little things, and there's lots of books out there on how to connect with people, but some of us are better, maybe more charismatic than others, so it's a little bit easier, but just don't be afraid to talk to people.
Yeah, I think you have to get over your fear. I mean, I'm an introvert. It's harder for me to go, especially at large events, to go up to people and just start making conversation. But I think you just have to get over that and just reach out to people. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And it just treat it like you would a friend. You go talking to a friend. Don't treat it like if you're looking for customers, don't treat it like a sales call. And Another point I want to make too is don't make assumptions about people that you meet. I know I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and I always like to talk to the speakers at the conference. And so I was trying to go talk to this one speaker, and then I ended up meeting one of his colleagues and started talking to him. And now we have a really good relationship because we both work in kind of the same field. So,
Right.
The speaker wasn't a person that really was a good fit for my business, but this other person that I met was. So I think it's important that you don't make assumptions about people and that you just try to connect with everyone, because you never know if they'll know someone else that they can refer you to. I mean, things like that happen to me all the time where they'll say, "Oh, you're doing that? Well, you should talk to this person over here," so they can help you make those connections.
Yeah, I mean, being connected is extremely powerful. Let's take a step back for a second. There's science that suggests that connecting with more people makes you live longer, makes you happier. So there's a root inside of us from an evolutionary perspective that makes us want to connect with people. So there's that. But what we care about is obviously opening up doors and having new conversations and potential new customers. And you only get that if you go out and talk to people. And like you said, like your target maybe to talk to one person, but tangentially you end up connecting with somebody else and maybe 5 other people. But the point is, having connections is powerful. Not from a rule the world and take it over kind of thing, but just you're downtown and you see somebody and it turns into an opportunity, whether that's to have beer or dinner or a new project. It's all very beneficial.
I think looking outside of your network is one area that I'm working on right now. Is that I have a lot of people in my network that have a strong technical background just because of the projects I've worked on, the companies I've worked on.
Right.
But really, a lot of times those people always bring, I guess, similar viewpoints. And so I've been networking a lot with people in sales, people in marketing, and it's been so interesting to me to see the different viewpoints they take, on starting a business, on the things that they value. And it was funny. I was at a sales conference, and they were saying, "Oh, the salespeople are the most important people in the company." And if I go to a technical conference, they'll be saying the technical people are the most important people in the company. So that part really cracked me up. But it's just a different mindset, a different way people think about growing their business, and so you kind of bring all those different viewpoints into your own and figure out, how you can best grow your business, how you can start your business out.
Well, it goes back to one of our previous podcasts about growing your team. You want to have people that are different than you. If everybody's like you, you don't learn anything. So, you want to be able to connect with people that have different experience, different information to share, different connections, and every connection you make, you're opening up the door exponentially to connect with somebody else.
Yeah, and you're trying to find, especially when you're talking about employees, you're trying to find people that are really good at specific things that maybe complement your skill sets or do things better at certain skills that you don't have. So when you're reaching out to people, maybe not only customers, but also people you want to hire or get involved in your business, it's important to kind of look outside your network and look at things that people have worked on and what their experiences can bring to help you grow your business.
Right. So you said you're an introvert. I mean, and I am too to an extent. I just talk a lot. But I think, so I remember, Rob, when we were in high school, my first day, sophomore year, was my first day at our high school. And I didn't know anybody, but I found one guy, Daniel Dixon, who was in one of my classes. And I said, "Hey, I don't know you, but you were in my last class. Can I sit down at the lunch table with you?" And I didn't want to do that, but I didn't know where else I was going to sit. So I took a risk. And that lunch table ended up being a lunch table that you sat at. And, half of my other friends I still talk to today sat at, And if I hadn't done that, who knows which table I would have been at? Probably
probably sitting by yourself.
Probably, yeah. That's a very high probability. Either that or the cheerleader table. But my point is, I didn't have a choice, and I'm not somebody who goes up and talks to somebody I don't know. But in this case, I was kind of like, well, this guy is relatively harmless looking. Looks like he doesn't have any friends. Sorry, man. But let me go up and talk to him, and whatever. But Dan is now much larger than both of us. He's like 6'6" and a state trooper. So I say that he was much smaller in high school. But my point is, you gotta be comfortable getting out of your own comfort zone. So you just have to take those risks sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, especially at conferences and things like that, I think it's good to step out of your comfort zone and just reach out to people, 'cause that's how you're going to make those connections. And don't be afraid to send those emails and connect people through social media. They might not respond, but keep trying, and if they don't, then just move on to the next person, because at least you tried, you reached out, and eventually maybe that connection might come around. You might meet them in a different way, and they'll remember that you emailed them or that you reached out to them.
And it's not all about business. I mean, yesterday I went to the eye doctor for the first time in my entire life, and you just strike up conversations with people, and hopefully I made that guy's day better, or vice versa. But just getting to know people, it's fun. I enjoy it, and trust me, I don't want to talk to people. I'd be in a black room with no lights on for months at a time and be totally happy. But it's nice to connect with people.
I think the feeling of rejection really, for me at least, that's one thing that's harder for me is and scary, is that feeling of rejection, that people aren't going to accept what you're working on, or they're going to think what you're doing is dumb or stupid or whatever. But
sure,
you just got to get over that, I think, and that's one area that I'm working on, is just pushing through that and not worrying about it.
Well, you're married and have kids, so clearly you pushed through that at least once before to meet your wife.
Well, I convinced her, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I met my wife. The first time I met her was at a trade show in baseball, and I actually didn't like her. Thought she was, not a particularly nice person, and she felt the same about me. But then 3 months later, we met again at another conference, and I was like, that girl looks familiar. And somebody's like, oh, it was the girl who was across the aisle from you at the last conference. And I said, oh, yeah. So I looked over, and she was she was sitting at a table with older men, people that she worked with. And I felt bad for her. So I legitimately wasn't hitting her. I went up and said, hey, here's my card. A bunch of us are going out tonight if you'd like to come out and enjoy life. But it worked out well for me. And that's something I don't do very often, but it worked out. So.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. My wife, I went up to at a party and just struck up a conversation. So,
hey, baby.
No, it didn't go like that.
It was much smoother.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about employees as you're trying to grow your business. I mean, how have you been finding employees and making those connections?
I like to go with people that I know, or I can relate to on a personal level. Somebody I see something in, like personally, like if you're a jerk, I don't want you on my team. But like the guy I just hired, on the first of the year is a guy I worked with at a previous company who I see potential in, and he wasn't being utilized in a way that I thought was good. And I kind of spoke to him, and it seemed like it resonated with him. Like he knew that he wasn't really being challenged either. So I see it as an opportunity to give him that, potential. And hopefully he sees it in himself, and at the same time, hopefully it helps me grow my business. But employees are hard, Don't hire people because they could be your friend, though. That's dangerous territory.
Yeah, that's important to establish that those boundaries. I mean, you want to have that connection with them, but I think that's important, is that you don't just judge employees on whether they be your friend or not. And a lot of times, actually, I don't hire intentionally friends into my business because I want to keep those relationships separate. Sure. I've found that there's so much going on in a business, and it's not necessarily all the time a friendly relationship. It's that business relationship. And so if you try to cross those, it's hard to separate those boundaries when, if you work together and now you're grabbing a beer together, you got to separate that, right? And it's hard to do that.
And some people can't. Like, they feel like they still have to bring work to the table, while you're having that beer.
Right.
And you're like, dude, shut up. I'm here to disconnect.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Yeah.
Like that time I was at lunch and stop talking about programming.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you just need downtime. And I really don't like to lose friends over business. So That's one reason that I try to separate that.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably a podcast episode right there.
So what about people that, are what I would call internet famous, these people that, really have strong social followings. They might blog a lot. They might talk a lot. I mean, how do you connect to those people when, they're probably getting inundated with requests for friends or, people are reaching out to them, but, say you want to talk to them at a conference or whatever, what have you been able to connect with those kind of people, and what have you found works well?
I have actually. There was a guy called the Batting Stance Guy. He got famous years ago for doing like those like 2-minute videos where he'd impersonate every major league batter with a wiffle ball bat. He had their stances down. Like he was internet famous 5-6 years ago before having 100 million views was common. I met him. I talked to him, and they have big egos. The problem is that they connect with so many people that none of their relationships that they make on a regular basis are meaningful. So you can't expect that. I read an article recently called Confessions of an Instagram Influencer on Bloomberg. He basically talked about how anybody can become one of these influencers. You just have to have a modest budget to put towards it, a couple $100 a month, and you can gain traction and followers through automated services and things like that. So, a lot of these people, they may have millions of followers, but I'm willing to bet that less than 1,000 of them are people that they, really know and connect with. So it has to, if you want to connect with them, you have to be willing to accept that you're a small fish in a very large, pond. But that doesn't mean that you can't make connections with those people. You just have to talk to them about what's important to them, not what's important to you. What I found, my sister, she works in the music industry, and she knows a lot of, great famous musicians. When I talk to them just like I'm talking to you. It's not, hey man, let me get your autograph. Oh, I love your song. No, it's, hey man, what's going on? Like, you just talk to them like a human. When you do that, they connect with you. If you're connecting with them in the same way that everybody else is, you're just a flash in the pan. They're not going to remember you. So, make yourself original, be authentic and genuine, and strike up a conversation about something that's important to them, not just you. And you've got a better shot at making that a meaningful connection going forward.
Yeah, I think it's hard with people that have a large following, because you might only get a small amount of time with them, and then it's gone, right? And so I maybe don't expect a whole lot out of that relationship, at least to start. I mean, it has to be with anyone. You have to consistently engage with people over time to build that relationship. And so one meeting is not going to, get you some new business or get this person to do something for you. I mean,
it's very rare.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to think about as, how do I cultivate this relationship? And it's one of the things you mentioned, how do you approach them with things that are important to them? You really need to think about that. Because if you do that, if you provide value to them, then they're more likely to reciprocate that back to you, whether you need a shout out or whatever.
Sure. Sorry. One thing that I've read in the past from successful social media, personalities, people who build it themselves, not with automated tools, is they say engage with people. Like posts, retweet them, respond to them, ask questions. All of those things they make an impact, because it shows that you're interested in what's going on, and that makes it an authentic relationship versus just this crafted thing for social media.
Yeah, and a lot of times that can get you recognized by that person as well. If you like their post, if you start retweeting things, if you start sharing what they've written, that can be a good warm introduction to then reaching out to them, because they'll kind of like see that you've been promoting their posts over time, and so then they're more willing to kind of engage with you that way.
And we're at a day and time where people are using automated services to thank you for retweeting something, but you can turn that around by liking it and replying directly to it, and then it like pops up on their radar, like, oh hey, look, this guy actually is not a bot. So make yourself different than everybody else. Do something different. Make yourself stand out.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing for me with Twitter, is there's just so much. People are just posting the same things, and Edgar, and there's so many bots refollowing people. It's crazy. It's like, are there any humans on this platform?
Well, and there's very legitimate. No, that's a very legitimate statement. There are people on there. Like I said, I pick up a lot of business on Twitter and make a lot of new friends. And I got an invite to Product Hunt through someone on Twitter, years ago, and like I've got, I share things, I get a beta invite to a new app. I'll be like, hey, who wants this? And people are out there who are real, who listen, and they want it, and those are valuable relationships to me.
So let's wrap up this episode. I think we talked about a bunch of different ways that you can connect with people you don't know, and really, it's about, as with anything in life, it's about creating that relationship with people. And, how do you mutually benefit each other, and how can you bring value to the person you're trying to connect with and get them to listen to you? And don't make it a sales, a sales email or something like that. Try to build that relationship around things that you're both interested in, whether that's for customers, employees. I think it's good to reach out to people and really start building those connections, because it'll help you grow your business, and it'll turn into friends and mentors and advisors and stuff over time.
Yeah, don't be afraid to connect with people. If you're worried about what people think about you, just forget about it for once and give it a try, and you'll find out that 9 times out of 10, you're going to make new connections. And practice with us. Comment on our podcast episodes. Retweet us, respond to us on Twitter. We're real people too. Like we want to connect with you. We've said that. So drop us a line. Let us know. Practice with us. We'll give you some feedback. Share it with your friends, and give us a like on iTunes as well.
Until next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Stretch Goals podcast. You can access the show notes for this episode and listen to other episodes by heading over to stretchgoals.fm.